100% customer satisfaction. And they won't settle for anything less. Their crews travel within a 100-mile radius of the Kansas City, Missouri metropolitan area, which includes cities on both sides of the Kansas and Missouri state line. Tycon Company, LLC. 4435 Prospect Avenue, Kansas City, Missouri 64130. 816-921-0473. Tycon Company, LLC. Quality with quickness. Proud sponsor of Wake Up KC.
This is Quentin Lucas, speaking on behalf of KUAW, Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom. Make sure that you gain that knowledge listening to this station and following us on Facebook Live. KUAW, making sure our community has a voice.
You are listening to The Lene Gray Show on KUAW, Knowledge, Understanding, and Wisdom.
This is your host, Kay Brooklyn, and our wonderful co-host, Dre B. This is the Love Project Radio Show, where it's all love, all the time.
We definitely want you to tune in to the Love Project Radio Show every first and third Sunday of the month. And also the show starts at 4 p.m. So please tune in. We discuss different topics from relationships to things that are going on in the world. Again, the Love Project Radio Show at 4 p.m. on every first and third Sunday.
We'll make you laugh, we'll make you cry, and most importantly, we'll make you love.
What's happening, everybody? Jazz trumpeter Tom Jamaica Funk Brown wishing all of my KUAW fans season's greetings and the warmest Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
cancel the Chiefs game, man. Right.
Yeah.
That's what. Y'all live.
Hey, do me a favor.
Email me the link. LinkedIn 1000. Y'all do that.
Now everybody know who that email is. Everybody know
You don't have to.
A little bit. Yeah. Can you hear me? All right. Something.
got a little
I disconnect my audio from here or something.
No, I think it's here.
got a little feedback.
Yeah, they're getting it. Okay. We're looking at it.
Hey, Charles, now it sounds like City Hall meeting.
Your audio connected. I might be see it disconnected that. No, I don't have. No, I'm not. See.
We're gonna go into 5-minute recess. That sounds a lot better.
No,
Yeah, cause I ain't heard our music. I ain't heard our theme music. That was earlier.
Some. That sounded good. No echo? Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I can turn this volume down there.
Who was it?
no, well, I'm on this guy. I can't see nobody.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I'm just gonna keep my camera off. That's why I'm not double. Because that's the one camera on, but see him on the screen. Yeah. Because they're just on.
Oh, so I need to turn the camera on then. So am I?
They see him because you're here. See, that's them. See, everybody's there. But what I'm saying is I've got.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
They don't have to see us. All they need to do is hear us.
We on?
Let's roll.
All right, let me go live on here. Hey, what's going on, Kansas City? This is What's Real. Real Talk. We back on KUAW. You can check us out at KUAW.org. You can call in at area code 816-599-6893. We do have a Zoom link up, and I'm playing around with it a little bit. KA, can you please give the people the Zoom contact info while I get my screen reset?
Yep. Hold on.
Come on, man. What kind of co-host is that?
Yeah. Zoom meeting ID 790-4373-3505.
Yeah, so again, we're going live. This is our first time.
Yeah, we're gonna post that online.
Hey, tell them all real quick though. Repeat it real quick.
They can go to KUAW on Facebook, and they will be joining. We'll have a link on there.
All right, so I just posted the Zoom link on my Facebook page. Again, if you're watching us, Come on in, contact us. This is What's Real Talk. Again, this is our first Zoom edited edition, so I'm a little off here. And I'm using the computer that I typically don't use, so it's throwing me off even more. But we got a lot of hot topics to talk about. So here in Kansas City, we have everything ranging from protests that's happening outside the city hall to issues in the neighborhoods. I believe we're at 148, 149 in relations to murder. Yeah, so before I get into it, and again, if you watch this on my Facebook page, I encourage you to go to the KUAW.org website or go to the Facebook page of KUAW-LPFM. And the reason being is because you're going to see an integrated video and audio experience. If you're watching this on my Facebook page, you're literally only going to see me on Facebook. But if you go to the website or if you go to the link, the Zoom link, you can contact us and you can talk to us. And again, the Zoom link contact information is Zoom. The password ID will be 790-473-3505. And the passcode is 4, capital P, lowercase p, A9N. Those are all lowercase. So jumping straight in, man. What do y'all think about the protests? The protests happening here in Kansas, the protests happening here in Kansas City in relation to Chief Smith resigning. So currently you have people occupying the front steps of City Hall, and they've committed to not leaving until Chief Rick Smith is fired. So what do you guys think?
I mean, I think protest is, I mean, it's kind of a necessary thing in our society. I mean, some people's voices are not being heard, and you know, those types of things are going to boil over, and eventually, you know, you're gonna have to hear them. If you choose to close your ears, then they're gonna make you listen. So it's definitely necessary. Our people do have a voice that's been silenced too long. So I mean, that's what's expected. You know, when we see injustices, we see oppression, we see things that are occurring in our communities that shouldn't be, then people are gonna have something to say about it.
Well, let's get into the nitty gritty about it though, because I feel you with excuse me, guys. I think y'all carrying over on here. I feel you when you talk about people's voice and people's voice need to be heard. Mm-hmm. But my question is, and for those that haven't talked to me in the last couple of weeks, I'm engaged and committed to agitating and irritating a little bit more and trying to make more social movement than what I see. So I need to give my disclaimer before I actually say this. So in relation to the voices heard, do protests create change? And if they do, what systemic efforts need to happen in relation to the protests that we're seeing here? Is standing outside going to be enough, or do they need to go any further?
I don't necessarily think. Well, I think protests is a catalyst to create change. I said because the first point of it is awareness. So yeah, we talk about issues, we voice it in a certain medium, and if it's not heard, then you escalate it to this, you know, to a form of protest. Whereas enough awareness of it now where people are like, you know what, we might need to do something about that. Not like they shouldn't have done something before that, but that's the point of the protest. Now the actual change, I say, happens outside of that. You ask me.
All right. For me, to answer your question, no, it doesn't. It's not the direct change. I agree with you, King. But it's the catalyst. It inspires the change. I mean, I look at it much like pain. Pain is designed to tell your brain that it's a problem somewhere. You know, the pain is there to serve a purpose. Well, guess what? The people that's speaking out saying, look, this is a problem. This is something that needs attention. We have to put a spotlight on these particular issues. You know, our pain actually matters. You know, those types of things have to happen because there are a lot of people on the fence who are indifferent. I mean, that if they don't know that these people over here are feeling these things, then we can't, you know, attract their support and helping us to enact change. Yeah. But the first thing that has to happen is, as he said, is awareness and bringing awareness that these are some issues, real issues that are really affecting people. And then that's the first step towards letting the change that's going to come thereafter.
No, I feel that.
Sure. How long do you have to keep?
Go ahead. I hear you, Charles. Go ahead, jump in.
Yeah, how long you have to keep awareing people? We've been knowing this been going on for years. You know, I think, you know, the changes on the outside, you know, yeah, that's cool and everything, you know, assembling outside. We're not going to move until we get this and that. but I think the voice is more effective on the inside. So, until you go inside and scream about some of the same changes you've been speaking on the outside, I think they actually falling on deaf ears.
All right, so you say you think they falling on deaf ears a little bit. Now I fall in the medium in between both. I feel with Nigel and what KUAW was saying when they talk about external pressure and then optics as far as showing movement, etc. But I also feel 100% what you're saying in the venue and in the vein of actually getting something done. So I'm encouraged that people are willing to sacrifice their health, to sacrifice their time, and to commit to protesting in front of City Hall. But I think it would be 100% more effective to occupy the police board meeting and say that we're not going to leave until we have this position actually put on the table. And by position put on the table, we will be talking about a motion for either recusal or removing that individual from that position or not. And I think it's the same 100% when it comes to policy issues. Like, I've been somewhat quiet on these issues, and I've had a few people here in Kansas City, some of the social organizations, challenge me a little bit. And I see Cheryl Ferguson on here, so I definitely want to get your comments. I want you to call in. Cheryl, if you're listening, go to the Zoom meeting. The ID is 790-437-3505, and the passcode is 4 capital P lowercase p A9N, and that's for anybody that's watching and listening that would like to engage and join in the conversation. But back to what I was saying, going into the venue of actually changing something. So when it comes to policy ramifications, I had a few social organizations challenge me. They was like, "Well, Ellington, where you been at? You haven't came out here." And it irritates me a little bit because for 9.5 years, that's all I worked on was criminal justice reform legislation, and I see no support, not of the ideal, but as far as movement. And when I look at the energy for some of these young folks that are being organized and then being asked to sacrifice their health, etc., I expect that same level of seriousness when it comes to the proper channels to get something done. So again, I'm encouraged that the people are out there protesting. I support their visualization, but I think they need to take it up a step and start occupying the actual police board meetings and forcing that change that they see. And I see a couple comments on here. Go ahead, Bay.
And that police board meeting has been opened up by the mayor. It's even been relocated to accommodate the community to come in and address the concern.
Well, now hold on now, Charles. I'm going to play devil advocate on that. And this goes to transparency. I think the police board has just now started allowing people to come back in. And to me, that was problematic. So when we talk about a transparent government, I think the focal point should be exposing the inactivity of the board and also the reality of policy control that's up underneath that board, which will go back to not having public meetings. And I believe the excuse they was using was because of covert. They didn't want COVID-19. They didn't want people to come in, but that creates a hindrance to open, honest government and allowing constituents to participate. So I just wanted to push back a little bit because the board meetings have been closed for a minute. I think that was extremely strategic on the police department not to allow, the police board not to allow people in. But the only reason I'm agitating and irritating is I know we have a good platform, and I would like to encourage more folks that are willing to work on structural changes to engage with me, and I'm willing to work as far and as much as I can in the capacity that I'm here, and even to hook people up with folks at the state that believes in working on criminal justice reforms. And for those that are novice, I want them to actually understand that it is more leverage and more power here. And going back to what Nigel and what KUAW was saying, observation and optics is a necessity. But if we're not following through on legislation, and I could just use the last several business sessions as an example. For the last month or so, I've been making police issues. It would make my point solidified if people from the community was actually saying the same thing in a factual way. And again, if you're watching this, you can get with us on Zoom. The ID number is 790-437-3505. Passcode is 4PPA9N. You can also get us on the KUAW website, KUAW.org, or you can call in the call line 816-599-6893. But I definitely want to hit a little bit of everything, man, because I want to talk about the Trump, the covert, the debates, our political stance, and also what we need to be looking forward to doing. In case, go ahead, Babe.
Real quick, I got a comment on the protest, man, if I can. I got a question and a comment.
Go ahead.
When is the last time that somebody that a group of people went in a police meeting or a commission, commission board meeting with the the big dogs, that's my question. Has a group ever went in and just took over the room and said we ain't moving like they demonstrating outside right now?
Not that I've seen here in KC. Okay. I've never seen that person.
Nah, and my bro, he just made my point. One of the points I'm gonna make, right? The protest here in Kansas City, I think protests, man, be in degrees and steps in particular places, right? Now you got big cities with what I'll say is hot spots where we already see protesting became riots. We know what Martin Luther King said about that being the voice, man, of the unheard. Those that's trying to be heard. Here in Kansas City, you know what I mean. We know that we in a one of them states, man, that's a little bit behind as far as civil rights, all these type of things, except when Martin Luther King was killed. You see what I'm saying? I don't think we there yet in this town. I think they maybe they moving towards that. Sitting on the stairs right now saying I ain't moving. I think and I hate to go here. I think if the situation or the system, as it continues to whip them, if they don't go inside, you know what I mean, and begin to take over those meetings here in Kansas City, as the system continues to whoop them. And they continues to see the unfairness, continue to see the inequality, then one day, just like those other cities, we'll storm the city hall, and have our voices be heard. But until then, until you're tired of getting whipped, until you're tired of seeing, your brother man get killed, till you're tired of seeing the systematic, your people can't get a house, it's all way down. Till you're tired of seeing that, you'll stand outside on the steps.
Well, hold on, let me stop you right there, babe, because I like where you at. And I know we got a caller on there, and I'm about to go to the caller, but I want to stop you right there because I want to keep it in context with these new protests that are happening, and then also policy ramifications. So the new protests that are happening down there is a fallout between something that we've seen off of 35th and Prospect. There was a young woman out there that was visibly pregnant, like, you can know it was as
no doubt. You can look and tell, whatsoever.
Like, yeah, I don't know how many months, but you could look and tell that she's pregnant. She was put on the ground, handcuffed. Troy Robinson was also one of the individuals that was down there. For those that don't know Troy is the individual that stands out there with the Honk for Peace sign. He has the Honk for Peace shirts, and he started a movement with some of these young cats out here to promote peace in a different aspect, right? So he has his own different platform, the way that he pushes it and promotes it, etc. So in the videos that I've seen, I've seen the video where Troy's put on the ground. I've seen the video where the young lady was put on the ground. The reason I'm mentioning this and going into the context would be arrest powers and also things that need to be changed. So when I was talking to Mr. Robinson, I was just being 100 and keeping it honest with him. I was like, the charges that they actually hit you with is extremely easy to arrest anybody on because it's almost impossible for you not to prove that none of this happened. So when we talking about disturbing the peace, hindering charges, and low-level charges that are subjective to optical view. So I would actually suggest overt policy changes. So if we have issues with the way law enforcement is actually engaging folks, then we should change the rules of engagement, making it has to be clear, clean conduct. The same when we talk about use of force or arrest powers or neighborhood policing, community policing, however you want to put it. But these are all policy issues. And I'm asking this and irritating this because like Johnson Bay said, for the last, I don't know how many years, we keep talking about the same issues. And going back to what the comments that you guys stated, that it sounds like sometimes it falls on deaf ears. And I think that it does without adequate reactions, right? So I just give you an example. At the state level, I watched several different organizations come up to the Capitol and lie. Now, they wouldn't just come in the Capitol and carry signs and walk through there. They would also come up there with policy recommendations like, dude, this is the law that we want to see change, and we won't be back if this is changed. And my only wish is that those that are listening that are concerned about police reform, that are concerned about criminal justice reforms, actually work with the folks that are in office that have shown willingness to work on these issues to not only have synergy outside the door, but realistic policy ramifications and change inside the door. Because without a synonymous symbiotic relationship, you have two wheels spinning and no axle, so you have no forward progress. On to capture that. But again, you watching What's Real Real Talk, KUAW. You can call in at area code 816-599-6893. You can also catch us on the KUAW.org website. If you're watching this on any of my Facebook feeds, please go to the KUAW Facebook page so you can see everybody that's in here on one screen. Very integrated audio video experience. And if you would like to call us and talk to us, the Zoom ID meeting number is 790-4373-3505. Passcode is 4 capital P lower P A 9N. Yeah, I'm gonna get that smooth one day. Okay, write down the passcode for me. Okay, so if you go to the KUAW Facebook page, we're Zoom people can see it. Okay, so if you're on Zoom, you already see the second link to connect. If you're not on Zoom, we're gonna be reposting. And again, this is our first time doing the integrated Zoom conference with the What's Real Real Talk. So we are working through a couple hiccups. So I apologize for not having the smooth conversation like we usually do. Second half, we're gonna get into the debates. We're gonna get into Trump, and we're gonna talk a little bit more about community action. And since I got a few minutes to burn, I'm just gonna hit with what Johnson Bay is doing. That way we get people to understand our segment and our segue over. So again, when we talk about policing, I try not to create excuses without viable solutions. Brother Johnson Bay has a security company. They're called 100 Kings. For the past month and a half, maybe 2 months, if not a little bit longer, we've been getting out, assessing certain neighborhoods, certain communities, and then 100 Kings have actually been doing follow-up. So when the neighbors call at 2, 3 in the morning for shootings or drug dealing or whatever's popping, his organization shows up. Now this goes into a segue when we talk about public safety and also policy ramifications, right? So we talk about PD and we talk about policing, but that's only for apprehension and detention. And we typically don't see it that way. We see policing is supposed to be fixing issues in the community. And I think, again, that's one of the reasons why we have issues. Johnson Bay, tell them what you do, tell them what you got going on. That way, when we segue over, we can go straight into crime.
Okay. How long we got? A couple minutes? Okay. Real quick, and I guess we'll continue this in the next segment. Man, we security company 100 Kings, man, Incorporated. You know, and before I go into that, you know, I want to shoot a shot. You know that a lot just put on my mind, right? You know, see, there was a point in time when me, you know, and people like me, you know, being an ex-convict, drug dealer, you know, ex-drug dealer, you know, homeless, you know, there was a time when, you know, I would still try to impress my ideals upon the city of Kansas City, you know, and because I was a little guy, you know, because I didn't have a name, you know, because I was from a hood, you know, and had a record, you know, I wasn't heard, you know. So today I want to give a hell of an honor, man, first and foremost to Councilman Brandon Ellington, man, you know, for hearing the voices, man, of the people that have been unheard, you know, and giving those voices, those people an opportunity, you know, to manifest, you know, what they want to do, you know, the assistance that they want to bring, you know, to this pandemic that's going on in this city. You know, I'm not talking about COVID-19. I'm talking about murder 148 is what I'm talking about. You know, so what 100 Kings is doing, man, is we going into our neighborhood, into all neighborhoods, but I put an emphasis on the urban core, into our neighborhoods, man. You know, to protect our neighborhoods. Yeah, if you on the left side of things, then yeah, we coming to, you know, talk to you, you know, and hopefully that works. And if not, to get you out of those neighborhoods. You know, the women and children, man, they you know, they deserve a chance to live in 2020 without worrying about a Draco bullet coming through their window, a Draco bullet going through their car, killing their kid, their mother, their father, any of those things. You know, we sick of it, man. You know, and I know.
Right. All right, we got to break real quick. So I still got us on this Facebook Live. I want to keep us on this Facebook Live. All right, so while we on break, and we just going to keep talking here, Cheryl Ferguson, I'm actually going to wait till we're back online to address your questions, but your questions or extremely vital. And I'm actually going to expand and expound on some of those points, every single one. I'm gonna read through some of these questions since we're just online. How long do we have before we're reconnected? Oh, we're back on Zoom. All right, we back on. So, all right, we're on the second segment right now. I'm gonna give you the Zoom link to that here shortly. Write it down for me because I don't have to type it in this computer. But I'm gonna start reading some of these comments, and as I'm reading through these comments, I'm gonna have the round table talk about them. So, question from Miss Ferguson: I'm gonna read a couple of hers that I remember together. And Cheryl, forgive me if I mess up. Question: the demonstrations is predominantly not people of color. Is a larger black population involved? And then she had another question, and they're related to some actions that she did. I did a protest action with only 3 people, and it opened the BOP meeting. So she's talking about the border police. So I know Ms. Ferguson has been committed actually to getting out there in the community and trying to get people to show up to police board meetings, to come down there with her. I do know that she was doing some singular, and I say singular because wasn't nobody showing up, speeches down there. Like she'd go down there almost every week and get on the podium, talk about issues, etc. But her position would have been strengthened with people from the community showing up. So the first part of the question is, are black people even concerned with police brutality in the to the level of actual movement? Because most of the protests that we've seen, whether it's Black Lives Matter or it's the people that's camping outside the city hall, or even the lack thereof attendance at the police board meetings, have not been people of us talking about conditionings that happen to us, but it hasn't been interpersonal because it hasn't been us. What do y'all think?
I think it's social conditioning. And I think they become tolerant and accepted a lot of the issues, and it's harder for them to articulate these things. As far as them being concerned, yeah, I know they're concerned. I believe they're concerned. I'm concerned. You know, everybody I feel is concerned about it and has dealt with it. But I think it's part to play with the trauma involved with it and the impact that it has, and then how do you handle that? Because everybody handles that differently, and that's one of the, I guess, you know, red tapes, you know, in place when they have to deal with it. So as far as their voices being heard, she's right though. I mean, I've been in a lot of these protests, and ain't been us out there, you know, in the numbers we would like. I said, but at the same time, if they the ones being brutalized, how they gonna show up while they too busy being brutalized? And that's kind of how I look at it, in my perspective.
So you kind of saying it's like a Stockholm syndrome. You already used to being beat, so why do something else?
I'll say this, and just like you, King, I've been to protests here locally in other cities across the country, and I have seen that the great majority of the people that you see, you know, look like they're not from the community. But my perspective on that is that that's not necessarily a bad thing. Okay, it's a bad thing in the sense that maybe we do feel traumatized, maybe we do have a level of hopelessness, and despite the fact that we do have obviously some significant concerns and care about this issue, if you're hopeless, or if you feel like there's no way this is going to change, or even on a bigger level that no one cares enough about us to want that change, then yes, that can lead to some inaction. Okay, but that doesn't mean that the intention is not there, that the hope is not there, that the despair is not there, that the pain isn't real. Okay, but some of us have been speaking to these other people who've shown up. They haven't just shown up without being.
Hold on, can y'all click back over to the contact number real quick for me? Sorry about that, Nigel.
You know, a lot of us have expressed what's going on to us, and that's why we've formed these alliances with these other people whom are there helping to be a voice on our behalves in our absence. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. Now, the downside of us depending on other people to speak on our behalf is that our movements and our positions and our voices and all those things can oftentimes be co-opted. I've seen this firsthand. You know, I've seen this firsthand where the issues and the narrative has been changed for other people's purposes. Okay, and so those benefits when we do reach that finish line, and I agree with you, Brandon, in that our finish line and our goals have to be more clearly defined on the front end, so that our actions leading up to that can take us there. Because otherwise, our good intentions at the start end up getting misdirected.
Yep.
Okay, and then other people end up benefiting, and those ones who have always been oppressed continue to be oppressed, even once this ultimate quote unquote change actually occurs.
Then it repeats the cycle.
That's right.
And that's where it becomes the issue. So that cycle actually has to be broken as well. As far as that, everything, it distorts the main objective. You know, I guess you kind of say it with the Black Lives Matter too. I'm starting to see some distortion there. Exactly piggybacking on what Nigel said, where it's changing. You know, you've got all this misinformation, you know, and they start to throw this in there. Now, what's the point of?
Now I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Now I'm about to start some stuff up. So I finally got this stuff typed up, man. And for those that don't sound good at multitasking, I'm holding 2 phones and typing.
Like Kevin Gates.
Like
2 phones and 2 laptops.
Yeah, I'm not saying I'm doing it good, but I'm holding. So the new Zoom ID number is 737-0259-7419. The passcode is 2 capital P lowercase I, all the rest of the capitals, capital G, capital F, capital X. And again, you can call in at area code 816-599-6893. You can also get us on the KUAW website, kuaw.org, and on Zoom. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know we still had a caller on there. And Cheryl, I think you are that fast. Just type a little bit quicker. But the question I want to ask, and then we're gonna go right to the caller.
I need my pet outside.
All right, so I'm gonna ask this question, then we're gonna go to the caller. With the caller's question. So whose fault is that? If somebody is standing outside your yard and they say you in trouble and you're not doing anything about it, and they start telling people you in trouble, is it their fault that you wasn't telling people you in trouble? Is it your fault that you're not controlling your own narrative? Because that's the only reason the other person can take the narrative. So whose fault is it that we're not taking the narrative? Going back to Ms. Ferguson's question about lack thereof attendance at protests, lack thereof attendance at board meetings to actually argue, and then I'm gonna put myself in there too. Lack of attendance and support of city council meetings when it comes to issues related to this, and even when I was at the state, lack of support about state laws that people are talking about now that nobody is filing, because again, the conversation isn't about adjusting the law, it's about optics. Go ahead, Bay.
This is my opinion. Can you know?
Yeah.
This is my opinion. We comfortable. You know, I think we're comfortable. I think the reason that you don't see more participation, the reason that you don't see the extent of participation that I spoke about in the previous round, is because we're comfortable. You know, I mean, you know, a carrot here and a stick there, you know, a bone here and a piece of chicken there, you know, and everybody's comfortable.
So you don't like the chicken dinner?
You know, you see what I'm saying? You know, everybody's comfortable, man. You know,
winner.
At what point, you know, and on some instances, I am proud of Kansas City because I see things that go on sometimes in other states, big states around the world, around the country, and we join in on that, you know. But at what point are we sick of what's going on here in Kansas City? Is what I'm saying. Yeah, I was down at the protest about George Floyd in the plaza, you know. But let's talk about the protest for Donnie Sanders. Let's talk about the protest for the brother. And forgive me, you know, I can't remember the brother's name, but we got a couple brothers, Brother Stokes. You know, let's talk about some protests. You know, let's talk about the protest, you know, for the some of the systemic racism that you don't even see. You know, let's talk about some of the protests that should be seen for some of the brothers that we seen go to court and they never been seen again. You know, I think we're comfortable, man.
I don't disagree with you on that comfortable thing. I want to hit this question, and I want to open it up to the whole round table. So just because he mentioned my dude, man. Kwame Ture talks specifically about organizing and mobilizing. Real change comes with organizing and the power to mobilize to disrupt business, commerce, economics. When we disrupt the flow of dollars, commerce, there's a violent reaction that happens immediately in the form of police brutality and overt racism. If the actions are organized, then they are sustained over a long period of time, much like the Montgomery boycott, SCSU hunger strike, and so many more. Dude, I do not disagree with you at all. Kwame Ture, Stokely Carmichael coined the term Black Power, right? But again, that brings me back to my anger and going into relation to what you was just talking about, Bay. So Black Power was written in, was it 64, 65, something like that. definitely written before all the deaths of most of our civil rights heroes and icons. But in there, he talked about controlling economics. He talked about controlling political identity. He talked about controlling education. He talked about controlling policing. And again, with the 100 Kings, we're actually creating community grassroots policing. I said all this to say that we haven't addressed none of those issues because we don't control our schools. We don't control our education. We don't control nothing. I do need to do a quick segue real quick. You're listening to What's Real Talk, area code 816-599-6893. Website KUAW.org. If you watch this on my Facebook page, go to the KUAW LPFM Facebook page and get an integrated experience. If you're watching it, if you want to engage on the Zoom, go to Zoom, pass ID 737-0259-7419. The passcode is 2 capital P, lowercase I, capital G, capital F, capital X. Now, transition real quick, and it's all relevant. Going to education. So I got backlash over a couple things recently, right? So I posted a picture of our wonderful president dancing with some Ku Klux Klan members. Oh, caller, we got a caller. Sorry, I get back to the Ku Klux Klan picture. Caller, you there? I'm here. All right, caller, we're going to give you a couple more minutes. We can hear us playing in the background. So when Mr. Walker contacts you, just tell him you're on the phone and turn down the radio. But getting back to Trump. So I put out a picture of our illustrious president, dancing with some Ku Klux Klan members. He didn't have the hood on, they had the hood. And a few people got offended, they got upset. And I seen it as artistic expression. Like, this is what I see from the comments that I've heard, the collective comments that I heard. But this is what I want to throw in. So he's trying to do patriotic history. I haven't heard anybody talking about patriotic history and the problem with patriotic history. Do y'all guys or anybody online, do y'all have a clue what patriotic history is?
Tell us about it.
Do you have, I got you. You got a clue? Oh, call us back. Let me get this question out, then I'll come right back to the call.
I'm still on hold.
No, go ahead, caller. I'll come back to the question.
I'm online.
Yep.
You're on, caller.
Okay,
How you
hi,
doing?
sir. Hi, Brian, Mr. Ellington. I want to appreciate your service and the time, and to actually appreciating for the people of the United States of America. And first of all, I do want to just come on, son, because my son saw me. What's going on right now on the floor of Congress? Because I've seen the law. I went to Senate.gov. I went to the House.gov. Is there a takeover coming on? Because me as a person, this is against I don't understand what's going on. And quite frankly, me being of Liberian heritage, I feel like something's going on.
Yeah. When I look at it, well, first let me say this, and I'm joking, but I'm not. I would love to actually be on the floor of Congress to be able to tell you what's really going on up there. But from a,
I've seen the laws. Have you seen the laws? I know you know laws. I've seen everything that they try to do and everything. But we're safe, right? Because I live in the 3rd district as well, sir.
Yeah. Yeah, no.
I live in the 3rd district, and I want to let that I live here in the 3rd district, and at this point in time, if you don't know what Liberia is, I've seen a queue before, and it's kind of like Charles Taylor. So I just want to make sure that everything's gonna be okay, or.
Nah, I'm gonna try to answer your question as honest as
My
I
first
can.
question, yes, sir.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to answer as honest as you can. I can't go into too much details. I'm not in Congress, but from an external viewpoint, it does look like coordinated attacks on all old world United States institutions. Whether that's voting, whether that's the post office, whether that's the divide that we're seeing between law enforcement and those that support law enforcement, because the conversation isn't about what is the issue, it's about either you support or you don't support. So it's a clean divide. And even the patriotic history that I just mentioned, and also a few of the executive orders that he's passed recently that changes the understanding of culture and culture. And I said all that to go to, I do have severe concerns with the direction that America is headed into, especially with the comments about not supporting or following through on whatever the results of the election. And the same when we talk about our foreign.
I'm so sorry. Let's turn my Wi-Fi off. I'm breaking up, dude. The Wi-Fi stuff on me. Hold on one second, sir. I apologize.
Yeah, turn it down. Yeah, because she's breaking
up.
up.
I can't hear nothing, and I just need some type of.
Okay, he said he's gonna cut it to see if it gets a little clearer. And catch us on the
Hello?
radio. I'm gonna try to finish answering the question, and I want you guys to jump in too. But I do have severe concerns in all seriousness, taking back all jokes and everything like that, with the direction that the country is going in, from the lack there of a viable commander in chief that seems to respect institutions. And don't get me wrong, 'cause I'm a deconstructionist. I try to factually take down institutions by policy and structural design of the law. So do not get me wrong. But seeing the lack there of vocal support and disrespect, and also the encouraging of subgroups to pay attention is extremely concerning, because that creates a level of hostility that I believe we've seen in the past when other countries have been reconstructed. And if I had to put money on it, I would say we are in the reconstruction phase, which is the reason why I want to get back to the question about patriotic history real quick. So he's actually throwing on the table, in conjunction of some executive orders, patriotic history, and then no longer requiring, or excuse me, making sure that the federal government can no longer hold classes when it comes to sensitivity training, racial inequality, or anything like that. So how do you guys feel about that? And do y'all know what patriotic history is? And I'm gonna jump into patriotic history a little bit here.
How do I feel about it? You know, I'm kind of maybe it's the Libra side of me, and it's the Libra time of the year. So I'm always about balance. So I'm always looking at things, trying to find, if I see something that's ultimately evil, I'm trying to find that silver lining of good. Like, what's the good we take out of this? And I guess the good we take out of this situation is, if someone says, this is who I am, now we have the opportunity to believe them rather than them misrepresenting themselves to our face. And then we become disillusioned about who was on our side and who was not. So what I take from that, yes, of course it concerns me on an individual level that these policies are being enacted. But I also think about the realist in me says things haven't changed in 50, 60 years. We own less homes as a percentage, our population owns less homes than we did back when the housing acts were passed. Our wealth is at a much lower level, disastrous type of level. So it's like we're already in the frying pan, in the fire, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, go ahead.
I feel like agitating stuff.
Yep.
Everything you just said is disingenuous with the new American history, because patriotic history will go against all of that.
Okay.
And that's the foundation of patriotic history, right? So patriotic history means that we only promote what is positive, what is good in this country. So going back to the whole conversation that we've had today, from the protests, from the lack of so-called support from the people that are the victims, and then seeing other people that aren't the victims predominating the protests and predominating a lot of the vocal aspects of the movement, from housing to crime and all of this good stuff. If we start erasing and eradicating the foundations of how inequality started, we can never get to a situation in which you have honest equality, because honest equality doesn't mean we give everybody everything. It means that everybody has the same independent structure in which they can generate and create it themselves. And currently right now, that is not the case. Going back to the young woman in Troy Robinson that was thrown on the ground, when I was talking to Mr. Robinson, I was like, dude, you do not have an equal playing field. I don't think what happened was right. I'm not co-signing what happened, but they hit you with a low-level charge, which makes it extremely easy. And I want people to actually look up Mr. Robinson, because he's been beat by the same cops a couple times, like in the last 3 or 4 years, which is not only a red flag, it's extremely troublesome. But without video documentation, he has no help. And without us changing policies, he's always, and not just him, other people that are in that same situation will always be subject to incarceration and arrest, because the powers are too broad when it comes to certain things. And that's why I asked about patriotic history, because the executive order to get rid of that sensitivity training, I believe is going to be a disservice to everybody, because everybody doesn't benefit directly off of racism, but everybody benefits off the system, right? And if the system was designed unequally, and we're unwilling to examine that unequal nature, then I can never understand the definition of privilege. And if I can't understand the definition of privilege, going back to what Mr. Johnson Bay referred to, I can never understand the language of the poor when they want to burn down stuff because they're feeling like they're not being heard. So again, you listen to What's Real Talk. You can call in area code 816-599-6893. But you guys on the line, man, y'all very quiet, and I still don't know how to work this Zoom stuff, bro. So I'm not that good. But y'all real quiet over there, man. What's going on, Charles? You looking like Santa Claus with the beard.
Is he muted?
Yeah, I can't hear him. I see your lips moving, but I can't hear
you know he's saying something after that. So you got
All right, we can't hear you. See, we're going to come back. I see you talking, but we cannot hear you.
Oh,
there you go. You got him?
I'm going to use that.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yep.
We got Mr. Walker here stressing, man. We got him on like 4 or 5 different computers. But for those that are watching, we are reformatting the What's Real Talking experience. The next couple of weeks, you'll be seeing the podcast coming out, directed by Mr. Terrence Williams. For those that are engaged in 18th Divine, you should check this brother out. Every Thursday, he's holding a poetry collection down there, and he's looking at me like, why are you telling all my business? But yeah, but Mr. Terrence, 7 p.m. Hashtag poetry on the vine. And again, those that are watching, man, we're trying to mobilize and create a whole new movement. So if you're watching, call in area code 816-599-6893 KUAW. Do we have Charles Johnson where we can hear him yet?
Yeah, you got me?
Nah, go ahead, CJ.
Oh, yeah, man. First of all, man, I'm glad to see us all back together, man. It's beautiful for all of us to be back at the table together, man. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, yes, sir.
Yeah, I was saying, first of all, it's beautiful, man, that we all back at the table together, man, addressing some of the issues within our city, man. That's beautiful, man. That's real talk. Beautiful, beautiful. We were speaking about that police commission earlier. I think the lack that we have there is participation. You know, we cry, but when the doors open, we don't go through the door and actually express our cries, you know, with the agenda. So I take my hat off to those who've been parked down there all weekend. Hopefully, when Tuesday come around, when the police commission come back in convey, that same energy is expressed then and shown at that same time of going in those meetings, and we ain't leaving out of here until we get an answer. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
If I can, real quick, not to discount Mr. Johnson, but they only meet once a month with the police commissioners.
Okay.
And that's why it was so problematic that they went so many months before they actually allowed us in. They've been playing a wonderful chess game, and we have had no pieces on the board. That's the biggest problem. We've had circumstances to where we were told that we had to write in for public comments. And then they started advertising public comments, so it would overwhelm the number of public comments that they were getting. So all they did was summarize. Oh, we got 64 emails saying support Chief Smith. But there has never been a time that the chief nor the board members has actually met with those of us that have been organizing and have been protesting to find out what our asks are. The reason why we want Chief Smith out is because the culture is bad, and the culture always comes from the top. Any organization that comes from who's at the head and how that trickles down. When we had Mike Brown happen, if you look statistically, there was a trend that there was a downward spiral that happened after Mike Brown was killed of the number of officer-involved homicides against Black people. It started to tick back up. Therefore, you know that there was a talk that they had about stop shooting and killing Black folks. We need to have that same talk again, and he refuses to do so.
And let me hit you with this, Cheryl. A couple things. When they say pieces on the board, I've committed several times to going down with people at that police board if they wanted to protest in there and demand that their voice is heard. And I'm saying it online so everybody can hear it. There's been a couple comments on here in relation to honk and statues. I'm going to say this. I think at the end of the day, the things that have happened to Troy is definitely going to be a case scenario in police brutality, because I've read through a lot of documentation. I've seen a lot of Facebook video. When I was talking about the low bar of arrest powers, I definitely understand that. And I think there's certain setups that happen. And thankfully now we're in a new modern age where a whole bunch of people have cell phones, and it's easier to prove what actually happened than it is to go back and forth on the line. The other comments on there about explaining the Africa 2020 Act and some other things, I'm not even about to get into that because Yeah, I'm not even about to get into that right now. Cause yeah. Then there's a comment on here about John Lewis. The House of Representatives John Lewis gave his life for the right to vote, for us to fight constant brutality. Sad just before he dies, said we are obligated to say something if we see something. I'm gonna leave it right there because I agree with you 100%, and I want to kind of segue back to Bay and the criminal aspect. I do believe that last segment that if we see something, we're definitely obligated to do something. So in the community in which I live in, I see a little bit of everything, and I don't walk around as the moralistic police. I don't try to be the moralistic police. Yesterday, this is kind of funny. Yesterday, I'm standing outside with my dudes, and somebody tried to buy a wet stick from me. But I have a 3-piece suit on, so I don't know why I look like I'm selling wet in a 3-piece suit. But I said all of that to go to the conditions of the community and being honest about the conditions. So when we walk through the communities, we don't walk through there trying to get people arrested. We walk through there providing opportunities and jobs. So shout out to York Wilson. We have a job fair coming up. York Wilson actually gets out with us in the No More Excuses Coalition as we're walking. And when we find people that are out there that are doing whatever, we provide them an opportunity, not force them, but like, hey man, if you want a job, we have that platform. And I'm only saying this to encourage people to be that change that we want to see, because we talk about the same. I see my man Marvin on the line. I'm going to go straight to the caller. Go ahead, Marvin. I don't have control over that.
No, I got it. I mean, he's got it.
No, go ahead. Unmute yourself, Marvin.
Look like you might be on the call.
Hey, how you doing today, brother?
Sorry about good, man. Enjoying the discussion.
No, thank you, man. We trying to agitate people, man. I want people irritated enough to make movement.
Well, the only thing I'll add is this: is that I think we've been doing a pretty decent job of mobilizing. We could always do better. But back to the comment that I made earlier about organizing, we got to have the end result in mind. And we've got to be a part of crafting that solution, just as you spoke about earlier. If we're not crafting that policy and helping to craft that policy and bringing that to our representatives and whatnot in office, then we can hardly expect them to create what they don't know even exists, what they don't even perceive to be a problem. So how can they even begin to develop a solution that will impact us positively? We've got to be able to get together and put that together. Then one more point real quick, Brandon. We've got to be able to support people who don't scratch where they don't itch, who don't laugh when ain't nothing funny, and who ain't out here buck dancing for a chicken sandwich. The problem is that when we black people, black men and black women standing up for black people, we criticize the black person who stands up, says it like it is, calls it white systemic racism, and we say, well, if Brandon had just said it like this, how long are we going to continue to say, if we talk nice to Mr. Massey, that he his ways? He's not going to change. Power concedes nothing without a demand. Frederick Douglass said that. It was true when he said it. It's true today.
Now, I agree with you. I want to hit a couple things. I want y'all to get in. I'll come to you, Ms. Ferguson, so I see you on the screen too. A couple things that he just said is extremely relevant. I got in a little issue recently where I made a comment about 2 months ago and some people took it offensive. So I sat down and had a meeting with them. I found it funny that in the meeting, not only did they say that word 4 or 5 times trying to prove a point, they also said the N-word a couple times. So when they said the N-word, I was like, that doesn't offend me because 1, I'm not that, and 2, I come from a culture in which certain things happen, right? And the other aspect of that was that you're trying to get a rise. So it's a difference when something is said unintentional and when something is said intentionally, but it goes to the point of articulation control. And we have to be extremely careful and cautious when people tell us that this is why something is. I'm gonna just use you as an example, Ms. Ferguson, so don't take it personal. Well, you're not getting anything because she wants to protest. Well, no, you can't use one person's action to negatively penalize everybody else because that one person isn't following in protocol the way that you want. And as a community, we'll allow that to happen too much. We'll allow the fact that I'm just going to use law enforcement. Law enforcement wants to put cuffs on them, but we know it's wrong, and we say nothing because, that's the police. Well, we should actually be engaged. I'm so glad, not glad that the young lady got thrown on the ground, but I'm so glad that the young lady was there that was pregnant, that was on camera, because now it's an issue. And again, if anybody looks up the incidents from that corner, you're going to see dude, Mr. Robinson getting tased, getting bags put over his head, getting beat up, getting all type of stuff. But now everybody is paying attention because of something sensationalized. So I'm glad that the young lady was, not glad, but I'm glad that the lady was there because it helped balloon it and blow it up. And I think that what he said is extremely important, and we need to take hold of that. We have to stop creating levians. And the last part that I want to push back, though, was leadership. I'm just going to use my counsel stay. I don't know development. I didn't come down here knowing development. I knew I didn't know development. I also know stuff needs to be built on the east side. So I started reaching out to anybody that I thought had to understand it. And I think it would be the same in all aspects. We can't give leadership excuses for not knowing. If you don't know, then you shouldn't be leadership. Not saying you have to be an expert in it, right? But you should definitely know the concerns and the needs of the folks around you, and then figure out how to articulate those and secure those. And at least that's what I try to do. And I don't claim to be perfect. I do say things that irritate people. I don't talk the way they want me to talk and all type of stuff. But I think this is how we get honest and accurate representation. Y'all got anything y'all want to say on that? Because I want to get to Miss Cheryl,
Yes.
Miss Ferguson.
Yes, I'm ready.
Now, go ahead, Miss Ferguson.
Please, is it my turn?
Yeah.
Now, go ahead.
Okay.
Do you on live, Miss Ferguson?
So Mr. Lyman, I would like to address not only the fact with you, but then also the people that I hear constantly saying that as far as us being organized. If y'all actually pay attention to the optics that you see, you'll actually see some other things. So if you go back to the March on Kansas City, in the March on Kansas City, you saw a coalition of a bunch of people come together, SCLC, NAACP, Urban League, and then you got Black Rainbow, which is a new group that just started after May. You got It's Time for Justice with my group that we started basically back in February. So we've been actually coalescing with each other. So our message is consistent. You have those that have been working on the ground demonstrating. You have those that have been working behind the scenes in the letter writing campaign, call campaign. So don't think that we're organized because you're not involved. And the one thing that when I do my little on my way to work chronic each day that I keep trying to do is inspire people. So one inspiration I would like for Black people to have right now is that this is history. 2020 will be written. And you right now make the choice of whether or not you are somebody when their grandchild is sitting on your lap, or if you nobody. You make the decision right now of whether or not you want to be included in this movement for Black lives. You could call it Black Lives Matter or whatever else you want, but the sum of it is that we're fighting to be treated like everyone else. And right now, if you want some inspiration, think about your grandchild sitting on your lap, and they're going to be asking, what did you do in 2020? I hope you don't answer just sitting on the porch or on Facebook hitting like and retweeting, because that's going to end up making you a nobody. You have the choice right now to be written in the history books. You cannot do it from Facebook.
And Ms. Ferguson, I think we're going to see a lot of people written in the history books here in the future unless we have patriotic history. I'm just messing with you. And going back to Mr. Lyman, I think he was just talking about the underlying organizing support and not necessarily the people down there. And I'm saying this to clear up some things that I said too. I don't want anybody to think that I'm talking negatively about anybody that's actually protesting, because I actually support people getting out there, getting engaged, getting active. My only contention and issue is with the professional organizers. Relay that over to the arena in which we can actually get something done, and in coordination with people's energy and people's understanding of wherever they at. So I did want to make that out, because I know we got to get ready to get off. But I fully support those that are protesting. But I do think protest has to be engaged with accurate processes. So if I'm protesting because Nigel won't fix because you do rent. So since Nigel won't fix my toilet stool, I'm not only gonna not pay him rent, but I'm gonna make sure that toilet stool is done to the capacity that I want. And that's the only thing that I'm trying to relay. How much time do we got left? Because again, this is our first time doing the Zoom. I'm completely thrown off and a little bit overwhelmed with all the buttons I need to push.
I just have one favor then, Brandon. Answer the phone. We've been trying to get you engaged for a minute now. Answer the phone when I call. No,
I do, and I answer the texts, but I'm actually glad you said that, because now you give me a segue to open up. So she said that they've been trying to get me engaged for a while. Dude, I've been there. The issue with me is I don't show up for stuff for publicity or promotion, right? So when I see people that are saying that we won't change, and I'm like, bruh, the police department has exclusive control. So if we won't change, then we go to the board and we demand a policy change. I'm 100% with that. I will show up with you guys anytime you want to, because I know it takes one motion on that floor and 3 votes to get whatever policy change, because the state statute is related to state statute 84. It gives exclusive control. So it takes the governor out of the play, definitely takes the city council out of play. Even when we talk about the realistic possibilities of defunding the police, coming home on the council, I've been talking about reallocating funds. I haven't seen one organization or group come down there to support the reallocation of law enforcement or public safety dollars. We're talking about over 75% of the city budget that's being used for public safety. We're talking about 148 murders right now, 148, 149 murders, 130 something murders last year, 125 the year before that, right? Consistently over 100 plus murders a year. So when we talk about systemic change, I'm all for. Systemic change, I've been sacrificing my life and my family time for. When we talk about showing up in front of cameras, that's why you haven't seen me. So again, if y'all want to go down to the police board, I'm with that. If y'all want to adjust policies, I'm with that. If y'all want to support policies that we can do on the council, and I give you one that was out there that would have been relevant, and not only the situation on 35th Street, it have been relevant in all the protests, it have been relevant to anybody that gets arrested. So I came home and I tried to pass a consent form for law enforcement, any engagement with citizens in the city of Kansas City, right? Law enforcement came back and said they was going to sue the city of Kansas City. What does this mean? This means that we would have had a statute that any enforceable act by law enforcement would have had been itemized. Race, color, age, place, probable cause. And if there is no probable cause, then you have an invalid inaction. So let's go back to the comments that I made earlier about 35th Street and the low-level bar of hindering or disturbing the peace. Well, you couldn't even do that because you would have had to have probable cause of engaging in the citizen. So again, I'm all with it, but I'm with strategic movement that is leveraged by structural change. So we're not just spinning wheels. We gotta get ready to wrap up. Again, we here with What's Real Talk. I've been committed to police reform. I will always be committed to police reform. I'm committed to engage the community. If y'all would like to connect with us, we meet every Monday, 38th and Chestnut with the No More Excuses Coalition. We have a lot of platforms coming out. We also have the Trick or Trunk coming up with Mike and them. Tell them what's going on, babe.
Trick or Trunk, that's 17th?
Yeah, the Trick or Trunk's the 17th. What's all the organizations involved? Do you remember?
No,
All right, because I don't want to miss no organizations, so go to my Facebook page. We will be sponsoring about 3 or 4 Trick or Trunk operations. October the 15th, we're doing a virtual job fair with SWD. Again, big shout out, yeah, I get that one too. Big shout out to York Wilson. We're also trying to get D'Angelo Porsche's Gaming Against Violence off the ground. So if y'all know who D'Angelo is, or just go to my Facebook page and reach out to that individual. He has a very good platform in which he's trying to engage the youth. We also, what was October the 10th? What is that?
That's Kids Day at the Firehouse.
Yeah, October the 10th, we're doing Kids Day at the Firehouse. And that's a co-sponsor event. So if you'd like to get engaged, email me, brandon.ellington@kcmo.org. Put No More Excuses in there, and we'll send you out the calendar for October. And then again, we meet every Monday at 38th and Chestnut. So if you're willing to get engaged, get engaged. If you have neighborhood concerns and issues, please reach out to the 100 Kings, because again, we're formatting and creating organic community policing. And as a council member, I would be looking forward to changing public safety dollars to make sure that we have a model like this throughout the city after I can show the functionality of it. Hey, y'all got anything y'all want to say before we wrap out?
Yeah, this is Nigel here with the Hood Hope Foundation. We're actually working with Left Brains Foundation later on this month for a Money Financial Summit. More details will be provided on the Hood Hope Facebook page, so stay tuned for that.
Yeah, this is Charles Johnson. Charles Johnson, when I have my brother's keeper. I'll be back on the move soon, y'all.
Come on, I'll be back, man. We miss you.
Soon, man.
Yeah, King KUAW, Kingpin Coalition, no excuses, everything, you know. We working on some urban farming projects, so stay tuned with that.
100 Kings Incorporated. We actually have a public rollout in November. We went through several trial runs in October. We'll be coming through neighborhoods in the inner city in October, doing contracts. This is a real thing. You know, it's almost like a dream to most of y'all, I'm quite sure, to see some brothers walking and talking, looking like y'all standing up for y'all, for us. Amen.
Hey,
hold on, man. I need to read this comment out loud because I'm catching it broken up, and I may need to answer this before I get off. Let me talk about City Hall. City Council and Mayor Quentin Lucas in our 3rd District, Melissa Robinson, being attacked by other council members from, and I started reading, from North Kansas City, Committee Chair, Transportation, Teresa Lord. Brandon, you know the story and attacked in the beginning. Who did I attack? And I'll tell you where I'm at with anything. In the beginning, telling her she did not have the intelligence to write her own remarks. That's what the comment was. Remarks she made, an insult, and told her she was an angry black woman. Teresa Lord has attacked also KC school superintendent. I read the article in the KC KUAW paper. Channel 5 Melissa has been supported by the NAACP, SCLC, Urban League, etc. Made calls and let our mayor know Teresa should not be a committee chair. She is a racist. Finally, after two city other, it's kind of hard to read on here just because of the light. After two city other council people said something and refused to attend her meetings, she is gone. Brendan, you are 3rd District at large. We should not have anyone on city council calling black women angry black women, and nothing is being said. Finally, Mayor Quentin has taken over the committee. What is your answer with the issue? My answer is actually look at the video. So I was sitting in there when it happened, and the racial undertones came out afterwards. She did make the comment that who wrote that for you, but I'm gonna keep it funky, man. Since you want to give me a setup question and try to set me up on here, I'm gonna ask people and encourage people to look at the ordinances I filed and see who supported what. And then you have my answer. And again, you listen to What's Real Talk, KUAW. Call-in numbers area code 816-599-6893. If you'd like to get engaged with No More Excuses Coalition, again, we meet every Monday at 12 p.m. And I don't claim to be perfect, but I am authentic, man. I ain't gonna make up nothing. So check the voting records and see who supports what and see what I found and see what it does for the community. And then get at it.
Hey,
Real Talk.
Before we get out of here, man, big shout out to Girl, man, because they've been holding it down there on the block, man.
Yes, I'm glad you said that. GRL every Saturday from 10 to 5 p.m. They're doing Young Kings and Young Princesses programming. We also have the backing of Eddie Griffin, so he's going to be doing a couple entertainment venues down here to help GRL raise money for those folks that are out there that say I'm messing with Aim for Peace dollars and social justice dollars because I'm trying to get programming money for my peoples. Nah, that's not the case. We've always been independently funded. The reason I'm going after this funding is because for too long we've been talking about the same issues in the black community. And I'm going directly off of this comment. We've been talking about too many issues in the black community with the same players. And I asked why it doesn't change. And I think nothing has changed because we don't have the right people on the chess field. Going back to what Ms. Ferguson was saying, you have to have people that care, that are concerned, and that are committed. And going back to what Mr. Lyman was saying, people that aren't going to bend over to bend over. And again, you listen to What's Real Talk. If y'all like to get engaged, Brandon.Ellington, KCMO.org. I'm going to get off of here before I get on my box, but I have a lot of issues because I stay off of 40th and Prospect. And again, I don't sound perfect, but we put in a lot of work, and our work is authentic. And I watch where the hatership comes from. And it doesn't come from people in the community or people on the ground.
What about those that aren't available on Monday, though?
Well, it depends. So if you're not available on Monday, I'd wear two hats. So the No More Excuses Coalition is a coalition in which we organizing people, organizing entities, and then making movements. My other hat is I'm a council person. So with community organizations, people that are trying to do things in the community, you can always email me or contact Deetra. And I have been very visible and very supportive of pretty much everybody that's actually reached out to me, whether that's supporting events, whether that's showing up to meetings, whether that's doing certain things that I have to make sure they can get what they want done. So for those that can't make the No More Excuses meeting, you can always email me. We do have month calendars that are coming out where we send out monthly updates, and Johnson Bay is doing security. So with Johnson Bay, you don't even have to contact me. You can contact 100 Kings directly, and they're literally showing up 24 hours on call. So some of the bullets that we picked up, some of the after-hour spots that we've been involved in stopping, and some of the other violent issues that nobody wants to talk about because they're real, is handled through his organization.
Yeah.
Let me get off
Kansas
because
City
I'm about
be
to get
safe,
on
man.
my thing.
Much love, Kansas City. Be safe.
Try to send me a setup question, bro. I'm the wrong person for that.
That's right.
None.